you mentioned Brad Allen, and you and I haven't talked about this. Where did you ultimately come down on what became the story of the week? A story that became much more consequential for both the Lions and the Cowboys when the Eagles lost the next day to the Arizona Cardinals and opened the door for the winner of that game from Saturday night to capture the number 2 seed.
Well, we'll start at the end of this story when Brad Allen walks away and says, number 70 reporting is eligible. Number 70 is eligible, meaning the last tackle on the roster, pitcher who was running in late. And so then the Cowboys line up. Why would they cover number 68? Why? There's no reason to cover Taylor Decker, the left tackle, because Brad Allen has announced to the world that number 70 is eligible. It's heard on TV. It's heard. I heard it clear as a bell on the Cowboys radio network. And again, if you're in the stadium, maybe you don't hear it. If you're Dan Campbell and the players, maybe you don't hear it. But anyway, once that happened, there's no reason for them to devote one iota of energy to covering Taylor Decker, the left tackle. So for all those who say that the Lions were robbed, I get it. I think this is 65, 70% Brad Allen's fault. He was too much in a rush. But once he announced 70 was eligible, it's a free shot to Taylor Decker. Don't tell me that if they said 68 is eligible and Brad Allen goes over to the Cowboys and says 68 is eligible, don't tell me that then Taylor Decker was going to catch the winning 2-point conversion in a game that meant so much to both teams. So there's that. And I think the other part of this is, and look, Mike, I understand all is fair in love and war. But when Dan Campbell stands up and he says at the end of the game, I told the officials about this. I don't doubt he did. I wrote it out for him. I showed him. Did Dan Campbell say, I'm going to send 3 offensive linemen at the ref at the same time? None of them, by the way, who are going to go here. None of them are going to make the obvious sign that I am eligible. Somebody said it, obviously. Brad Allen got it wrong, and he said number 70. So Brad Allen has most of the responsibility on his hands. I get it. However, Lions are not faultless here because Dan Campbell didn't say to the official, I don't know what he said to the officials, so scratch that. I doubt that Dan Campbell said to the officials before the game, and by the way, we're going to send 3 guys over to you because we're going to engage in subterfuge so that the Cowboys don't have any idea what it is we're doing. That's what I thought of it.
Dan Campbell, I guarantee you, did not do that because all he said is, I showed them the play the way I drew it up for our players. He did not say, I believe, to Brad Allen, hey, come here, Brad. You're going to like this, Brad. I got an idea. We want to fool the Cowboys on which guy's really eligible. So instead of the usual procedure where one guy comes to you and reports and does this, we're going to have 3 guys approach you, 2 from the East, 1 from the West. And when that happens, just so you know, 68's the guy who's reporting, not 70. It's always 70 who comes in as the jumbo tight end. It's not 70 this time. We want them to think it's 70. And you know, it's kind of loud down there. Maybe when you say 68 is reported as eligible, they won't have heard you clearly. And in all the chaos, they'll cover 70 instead of 68. That's what we're going to try to do. Are you with us on this? I talked to Dean Blandino about it. He said there is no way in hell. He didn't say it that way. But he said there's no way the officials would go along with something like that. See, so they were trying to confuse the Cowboys. They successfully confused Brad Allen in the process. You got to own that. If you're going to play that game, right or wrong, and some would say it's wrong to do it, some would say it's fair. But if you're going to take that chance, you assume the risk that you confuse Brad Allen when Dan Skipper goes straight for Allen instead of straight to the huddle. What's Allen supposed to think? They made this mess, and I just wish they would own it. But see, Peter, I think they're not owning it, and they won't own it because they like the fact, this vague sense that they got screwed, because it gives them a little kick in the butt. It gets their fans riled up. They're buying billboards in Detroit. And I really wish the right thing to do here would be for Dan Campbell to say, okay, listen, we were trying to fool the Cowboys, and we did it too well. We fooled Brad Allen too, because no, even though I went over the play with them, I didn't tell them we're going to play a shell game with the Cowboys over who's actually eligible.
Yeah, and Mike, I want to advance this story a little bit. You wrote the other day that the NFL is not going to do anything about this, basically. I'm paraphrasing you. Is that?
Yes, they're not going to change the procedures.
Yeah.
They're not going to change the procedures.
Okay.
Like they did after the Ravens-Patriots game that we were at, when they changed the procedures for the ineligible guy who's wearing the eligible number can't line up in the slot. Remember, they changed the procedures after John Harbaugh got sufficiently upset that, as the Patriots believe, he told the Colts about the deflated footballs, but that's a different story altogether. But they're not going to change any of the procedures.
I'll just tell you this. There is a segment, because my whole point after this was, this is a simple fix. You know what the fix is? That there can only be one line. The only person or people who can go during the course of a game to the referee to say that they're eligible are the ones who are actually eligible. You cannot send people who are not going to be eligible to the referee to try to engage in this subterfuge. And any person who does that has to make the sign that they are eligible. Okay? And I've talked to two people now who think that the competition committee is going to consider this because it's a bad look. And here's why it's a bad look. Here's why it's the worst look. It is now 6 days after this game. We preview Sunday's games. We will spend more time on this game than on that play that is 6 days old than on 11 or 12 of the games that are being played on Sunday, including some games with playoff implications. It is ridiculous. It is a simple fix, and it's about making the game more honorable. And that's why I think that, look, I don't know that the NFL is going to do something, but I do know that there are some in the league who definitely want to do something because it is a simple fix.
Well, they sent out the memo on Tuesday that underscores the obligation of the person reporting to do it clearly with the hand gesture and verbally. And implied within that is, don't try to confuse the official. If you try to confuse the official, or more specifically the other team, you might confuse the official. So I don't think they need to change anything. They just need to reiterate, this is the rule. Now, would they create
they
potentially
do need
a
to
foul?
Change it.
But the rule already is, it's the obligation of the player to make it clear to the referee that he's the one who's reporting, and that's what Dan Skipper seemed to be doing. You're suggesting, if I read you correctly, the possibility of making it a foul if you try to send multiple guys to the official in an attempt to report. Okay. That's going to be tougher to enforce because
15 yards.
That's
why?
Yeah, that's going to be tougher to enforce.
Why? What if three guys go to?
I was just tying my shoe. I wasn't going to the referee. I was just tying my shoe.
Mike, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, and pitcher went to the official. Clearly, all of them went to the official. None of them was tying his shoe. They went to the official. If that happens again, there should be an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. because what they're trying to do is game the system. And in my opinion, it's an easy fix. That's all.
And I don't disagree with that. And that's not necessarily a change of the procedure. That's just a new consequence for anyone that might try to extend that quality of deception that is accepted. There are certain levels of deception in football that are embraced. You're rewarded by fooling the opponent. There are certain occasions where trying to fool the opponent really isn't fair. I mean, this is a mechanical process over eligible numbers, ineligible numbers. It should be fair to the defense when they walk up to the line of scrimmage that they know somebody who's wearing an ineligible number is actually eligible on the play. And it's this guy, not this guy, or maybe that guy, or who the hell is it? We don't know. That's what the Lions were trying to create. So we're in agreement on that. That needs to be out of the game. However they do it, that needs to be prevented. And the Lions learned the lesson the hard way. That's what I want to get back to. I wish the Lions would just admit we tried to do it and it failed, and it's on us. We didn't go over that part of it with Brad Allen ahead of time. We tried to fool the Cowboys, and we fooled him, and that's a risk we took, and it's on us. But you're right. It's still relevant because the winner of that game is likely going to end up with the number 2 seed in the NFC. What a difference that is. Hosting the divisional round rematch between the Lions and the Cowboys instead of going on the road. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.